Clearly, I expressed to President Obama and to Prime Minister Harper that the fight that Mexico is experiencing for a safer North America also requires a strengthening of national actions, amongst other things, to stop the traffic of weapons.
The Obama administration was trying to create a situation where they could put more repressive gun control on the United States by perpetrating the fallacy that Mexican drug cartels are using American-made weapons in their war with the Mexican government and with each other on the border.
And we sustain that the expiry of the assault weapons ban in the year 2004 coincided almost exactly with the beginning of the harshest period of violence we've ever seen.
That's a fallacy in itself. These are automatic weapons. They're not buying them at gun shows in Arizona, and they're not buying them at gun shops in Arizona. Those weapons are semi-automatic rifles. They're using full automatic weapons that were originally manufactured as automatic weapons. These are not conversion weapons. These are originally manufactured as automatic selective fire weapons. So it's not some garage conversion. They're buying these things on the foreign market. They're not coming out of the United States. And you even saw Mayor Bloomberg of New York after the Gabby Gifford shooting, which he does anytime that there is a shooting, is he goes to states where we allow people to sell guns back and forth to each other at gun shows and tries to gin up opposition to you and I selling Grandpa's deer rifle at a gun show, because we need to remember that guns are property. You know, and as free Americans, we're allowed to sell property to other people. And all this really does is deprive the law-abiding citizen of the ability to own a gun. And I think that's their end goal, to tell you the truth.
Only a small fraction of the firearms in Mexico are coming from the United States. Most of the large caliber automatic weapons are coming from Central America and other parts of South America and the Southern Hemisphere. There are some guns coming from the United States, so we're a border with Mexico, so yeah, and we've caught people trying to smuggle guns out of Arizona, and they've been caught trying to smuggle them into Mexico. So there is some gun trafficking going on. But to blame Mexico's problems on the United States is just par for the course for President Calderon and anybody else. Everybody blames the United States, and they won't blame themselves. We have a failed narco state to our south where the cartels have corrupted the Mexican government, and there is no desire on Mexico's part to deal with this problem the way it should be dealt with. And because of that, you know, their scapegoat excuse is to blame the United States. And I think it's just, again, trying to shift blame on the United States. We're not the problem in Mexico. Mexico is the problem in Mexico.
The federal government's been at war with Arizona over illegal immigration for nearly a decade. Even more so under the Obama administration. And essentially what they've done is they've created a situation where we have Mexican crime spilling into Arizona. We've had drug cartel crime, we've had execution-style crime happen in the Phoenix area. And a lot of this is, one, the federal government will not defend the border, and even worse than that, now they're even arming our enemies essentially on the Mexican side of the border. You know, it's essentially treasonous because these are being used against American citizens. They've traced these even to execution-style murders of Mexican attorneys recently as this week. You know, so they're creating an unstable situation on the border. You know, it's bad enough they won't defend us against illegal immigration, but now they're essentially arming the people that profit from the drug trade on the border.
They still haven't properly funded border resources. They talk about it, but in all reality, they're not serious about it. I mean, we know Fast and Furious is clear evidence of that. That they're not serious. They're not. After the Krentz murder and the Officer Bryan, and as an outgrowth of Fast and Furious, they're not serious. I dare say it's going to take. I think it would take probably an armed invasion of, say, Nogales or Douglas for them to probably send out the National Guard.
It's a failure. All of these incidents come from one source only, and that is the failure of the federal government to gain operational control and protect the sovereignty of this country by securing our border. I mean, that's really the problem. Agent Terry would be alive today. Rob Krentz would be alive today if the federal government had done its job and secured this border to make sure only lawful commerce comes across our borders. And, you know, we love trading with our trading partner, Mexico. You know, I got the Port of Douglas, I got the Port of Nogales. You know, we want trade to occur, but we want lawful and legal trade. And the federal government has failed to encourage lawful and legal trade, and ironically has actually encouraged illegal trade through Fast and Furious because they are subsidizing illegal gun running in the state of Arizona. So instead of securing the border and promoting legal trade, they're actually leaving the border unsecure and sort of supporting illegal trade, which is just an astonishing thing, and it's backwards.
Did the Deputy Attorney General authorize it?
My guess would be no. Mr. Cole, I don't think was in the. I don't think he was in the department at the time that operation started.
But he's been aware of it much longer.
Been aware of it much longer
Than you have, since you've only been aware of it a few weeks.
You have to understand the way in which the department operates. Although there are operations, this one has gotten a great deal of publicity.
Yeah, they're dead Americans as a result of this failed and reckless program. So I would say that it hasn't gotten enough attention, has it, Mr. Attorney General?
It's not necessarily. I mean,
Well, you've seen the Department of Justice, which is politicized basically regardless of what president is in control, because they work for the president essentially. You've seen them through the use of the Fast and Furious, where they're actually running guns to foreign nationals to use in crime. It's a consolidation of power. And what you're doing is you're moving towards a national government and away from a federal government. And under a federal government, they had limited power.
Well, of course, the Attorney General should be removed from office, number one. He is part of, well, he's the head of the agency that's basically stonewalling and covering up and prohibiting this investigation from being conducted through the duly constitutional committee of the U.S. Congress that has oversight of the federal government. And I think Congressman Issa will bring some of that to light with his filing contempt charges. But I think that there are quite a few people, both in the Department of Justice, the ATF, and other agencies that are involved that need to be disciplined and removed from their positions, terminated, fired, resigned, or whatever. And a full investigation needs to continue. I don't think you're going to get it with the current president.
Well, of course, we've got to hold someone responsible, but what I've noticed about government is it's slow and bureaucratic, and by the time they're saying, oh, here's someone responsible, there'll probably be several more murders in the desert.
And it may result in us not knowing for a couple years until we get somebody in that office that will cooperate with the investigation. I think it's pretty clear. If you read and seen some of the testimony in Chairman Issa's committee, that in my opinion as a member of the Arizona legislature, I believe that the federal government was trying to make our state, the state of Arizona, look bad because of our pro-Second Amendment views here. We believe in the right to keep and bear arms, and we're a very pro-gun state. And they were deliberately targeting pro-gun states, purchasing guns in pro-gun states, and smuggling guns out of our state into Mexico, in, I believe, an effort to malign the state of Arizona and our very liberal gun laws that we have here. And, you know, they were going to use that as an excuse to tighten those laws against the will of this state and of the citizens of this state, one of which I had mentioned earlier was an effort to limit the number of firearms you would be able to purchase in Arizona in a one-month period. And they were going to do this with any state along the border and not impose it on the rest of the country. And they were going to do it through an executive order or an agency direction rather than through a vote of the Congress. And I think that's a lot of things that make me a little nervous when you have a bureaucrat, an unelected bureaucrat, that does not go through the legislative process, imposing what is clearly an infringement on individual liberty and the right to keep and bear arms through just a bureaucratic fiat. And I'm glad that there were groups out there that opposed that and brought it to light and diffused it before it could happen. But again, I think it's an excuse. I mean, a lot of these events that occur, I believe, are set up to try to push an agenda, and that agenda is control. I mean, the federal government's mission right now is to control the lives of every American to the greatest degree possible. And I believe that's what that was about. It was about, you know, Arizona, to the federal government, Arizona's out of control. And they want to come in here and control. They want to control our water. They want to control our laws and our policies within the state. And they don't like the fact that we're a very free state. We pride ourselves in trying to put as much individual liberty in the hands of the people of the state as possible, and it just drives the federal government nuts.
I believe that Eric Holder actually knew what was going on and was involved in the operation, and you can tell that from some of his testimony. He needs to be impeached, and he needs to actually be criminally punished for what he's doing. A mere resignation, I don't think, is enough. And you can actually see a trail of this up to the Obama White House in reality. You know, up to cabinet level positions. Because I think this was some kind of a grand conspiracy that they dreamt up. They thought somehow that they were immune from actually getting caught, and that they could actually gin up opposition to the free ownership of guns and make more restrictive gun laws because of this. You know, it's Hegelian dialectic is what it's actually called. That you create when you create a problem, and then you ride in on the white horse as the savior to the problem. You know, in reality, you've lost your freedom from a situation that was created by government, and we need to stand up to these kind of things.
Of all the scandals in Washington, none threaten the Obama administration more than Operation Fast and Furious. And while other scandals involve bribery or corruption or lying, Fast and Furious involves lives, real lives. Lives like Rob Krentz, Agent Zapata, and Agent Terry, all victims of federal gun running south of the border into Mexico. When will it end? And when will someone from the federal government step forward and take responsibility for the violence that has been perpetrated and done on American taxpayers' time? One thing is sure, this is a federal government that has grown out of control and seems bent on restricting the Second Amendment rights of Americans and free states like Arizona and Texas. This is Patrick Henningsen for INFOWARS.com.